My name is Greg Hollister, and I'm here to tell you something that's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. For the last 7 years, I've been living in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and I've watched hundreds, maybe thousands of YouTube videos about what it's like to live here. And almost every single one of them is selling you a fantasy. Now, I'm not saying these creators are being intentionally malicious. Most of them genuinely love it here. But there's a massive gap between what you see on screen and what you actually experience when you move to Thailand. And I think you deserve to know the truth. When I first stumbled onto Thailand travel content back in 2016, I was at a crossroads. I was 52 years old, divorced, and honestly, burned out. I'd spent 30 years in Portland, Oregon working as an IT project manager. I was good at it, really good. But somewhere along the way, the job became just that, a job. The marriage ended, the kids were grown, and I found myself in a comfortable but soul-crushing routine. Wake up, commute to the office, attend meetings about meetings, go home, order takeout, watch TV, repeat. Then one night, after a particularly frustrating day where I'd spent 8 hours rescheduling a meeting that could have been an email, I decided to open YouTube. And that's when I fell down the rabbit hole. Videos titled "Living on $500 a Month in Thailand," "Why I'm Never Going Back to America," "Paradise Found in Southeast Asia." They were captivating. These were regular people, people like me, who'd somehow escaped the grind. So I did what a lot of people do. I researched. I binged content. I created spreadsheets. I watched people walk through night markets with $20 and came home with a week's worth of groceries. I saw beach bungalows renting for what seemed like nothing. I watched dating videos that made it seem like finding romance in Thailand was as easy as walking into a bar and smiling. And 7 years later, after living the actual reality, I need to tell you something. It's not that simple. I moved here in 2019. My plan was vague, typical American approach, I suppose. I'd heard that your dollar stretched further, that the cost of living was ridiculously low, and that you could just exist in a place that was beautiful and cheap and warm year-round. What could go wrong, right? Spoiler alert, nothing catastrophic went wrong. But also, almost nothing went the way I expected. Let's talk about the biggest exaggeration I see repeated over and over: how cheap Thailand actually is. Look, I get it. Thailand is cheaper than the United States. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that you can get a bowl of cow pad ghee, fried rice with chicken, for the same price in Portland as you can in Chiang Mai. You cannot. In Portland, that's 12 to 15 bucks at a decent restaurant. In Chiang Mai, at the local shops near my apartment on Huai Khao Road, you're looking at $2 to $3. That's true. But here's what the YouTube videos don't tell you. That meal comes with trade-offs. It's incredible value, sure, but you're eating something that's optimized for local tastes and local economic realities. You're not getting the ingredient quality that you get at home. The portions, while generous for Southeast Asia, might seem small if you're used to American restaurant sizes. And if you want to eat like you did at home, if you want familiar Western food, imported products, quality proteins, the math changes completely. I live in what you might call the expat part of Chiang Mai. My neighborhood is Niman. Have you seen videos of Chiang Mai expats drinking coffee at hipster cafes for practically nothing? That's Niman. It's beautiful, genuinely. It's got tree-lined streets, boutique coffee shops, and a real creative community. My apartment is on a quiet soi, about a 10-minute walk from the main action. It's a modern one-bedroom with a kitchen, air conditioning, and decent Wi-Fi, which, for remote workers, is essential. When I first moved here, I found this place for $400 a month. And when I tell you I thought I'd won the lottery, I mean I literally went to an internet cafe. Yes, we still had those then. And emailed my brother a photo with the subject line, "I've made it." A modern apartment in a safe, pleasant neighborhood for $400. In Portland, that's what you'd pay for maybe parking. But here's the thing. It's now 2026, and my rent is $550 a month. Not because my landlord's being greedy, but because property values have genuinely increased. Thailand's been discovered. More expats have arrived. More tourists come every year. And yes, the cost of living has gone up. I'm not paying American prices, not by a mile, but the trajectory is real. When I budget my actual monthly expenses, not a YouTube-optimized, I eat street food exclusively and live like a local budget, but an actual American guy trying to maintain a reasonable quality of life. Here's what I'm spending. Rent is $550. I'm no longer living ultra cheap. I chose a nice place because I spend a lot of time here and mental health matters. Utilities, electricity and water, run about $60 a month. Internet is $35. That's already $645. Now food, I do eat a lot of local food. I eat khao soi, this incredible curry noodle dish that's specific to northern Thailand, probably 4 times a week. I eat pad thai from the lady who's been running the same cart on my soy for 6 years. But I also buy imported items, good coffee beans. Sometimes I want decent cheese. Sometimes I want protein that I trust. And unlike what the videos show, I don't live in a constant state of culinary adventure. I make simple meals at home. I need eggs and milk and vegetables. That's probably $250 to $300 a month for a single person eating reasonably well. Not extravagantly, but not pinching every baht either. Transportation. I don't own a car here, honestly. Navigating Thai traffic is its own level of chaos that I decided I don't need to master. I use Grab, which is Thailand's version of Uber. I walk a lot. Song Thaus, those red trucks that pick up multiple passengers, are incredibly cheap. That's maybe $50 a month on transportation. Okay, so we're at about $1,100 a month, and I haven't even gotten to entertainment, eating out at nicer restaurants once in a while, haircuts, occasional shopping, or any of the things that make life more than just subsistence living. A haircut here is cheaper, maybe $5 or $6, but if I'm paying for a decent cut from someone who understands Western hair, it's more like $15 to $20. A meal at a proper restaurant with friends is maybe $15 to $20 per person, not the street food estimates you see online. Here's what the $500 a month videos never show you. They're usually made by people in a very specific situation. Either they're making enough money online to not worry about the budget anyway, or they're in a honeymoon phase where novelty makes frugality feel like an adventure, or they're in a relationship where expenses are shared, or they're in a far-flung rural area, not a city, or they're not paying medical costs because they're young and haven't needed them. I've had to see a dentist here. I needed a root canal done and I got a referral to a Western dentist. Not someone just learning, but an actual Western-trained professional. That was $600. In the United States, that's often $1,500 to $2,000, so yes, even the medical advantage holds up. But it's not free. And I'm also paying for international health insurance, about $100 a month, because if something serious happens, I need to know I can get proper care. So here's my actual, honest budget, the one that keeps me comfortable and not constantly calculating every expense. I'm spending about $1,500 to $1,800 a month. That includes my rent, utilities, food, transportation, internet, insurance, and a reasonable allowance for eating out, socializing, and enjoying life. That's probably 60 to 70% less than what I'd be spending in Portland for a comparable lifestyle. That's genuinely significant. That's enough to change your life trajectory. But it's not $500 for a luxury existence. And this is where I think the YouTube narrative falls apart. The second major piece of the exaggeration puzzle is that Thailand is full of quote-unquote digital nomads and remote workers who can be quote-unquote location independent. That's true, but it brings with it its own set of complications that don't make it into the videos. First, you need to be earning money somehow. If you're retired and have savings or a pension, great. If you're running an online business, great. But the infrastructure here isn't quite as reliable as what you're used to in America. My internet is good, but I lose connection maybe once a month for an hour or so. That would be catastrophic for someone whose livelihood depends on never missing a client meeting. Plus, there's this weird economic psychology that happens when you move somewhere cheap. You start thinking you found a hack in life. You've beaten the system. Rent is cheap, so you think everything should be cheap. But then you go back home for a visit, or you order something online and see the shipping is $40, and suddenly you remember that the actual cost of things globally hasn't changed. You've just moved to a place where labor costs are lower and purchasing power is different. I've seen people come here and, using the $500 a month logic, think they can live like rich people. They get a nice apartment, eat out every day, throw parties, take frequent trips to islands, buy drinks at bars. And then, when reality hits and they realize they're spending $3,000 or $4,000 a month, they feel like they've failed. They feel like they were promised cheapness and didn't get it. But that's not Thailand failing them. That's the YouTube narrative setting impossible expectations. The truth is this: Thailand is genuinely cheaper than America, but not in a way that lets you transform your entire life without effort. It's cheaper in a way that stretches your money further if you're smart, intentional, and willing to embrace some local life. It's cheaper in a way that can give you financial breathing room if you're already doing okay financially. But it's not a magic trick. It's not a cheat code. It's just a place with a lower cost of living. And like any place, your quality of life here depends on the choices you make and the money you have to make them with. I think this matters because a lot of people watch these videos and think, I'm stuck, I can't make this happen. And that's frustrating because for some people, Thailand could absolutely change their trajectory. But not the way YouTube is selling it. The way YouTube is selling it is a fantasy, and fantasy rarely survives contact with reality. But here's what's interesting. Once I got over the disappointment of not living on $500 a month, like some YouTube version of myself, I actually started enjoying Thailand more, not less. Because I stopped comparing my life here to a fantasy and started comparing it to my actual previous life in Portland. In Portland, I was commuting an hour each way. I was spending 8 to 10 hours a day in an office. I was paying $1,200 for a one-bedroom apartment in a not particularly special neighborhood. I was buying overpriced coffee, eating expensive lunches I didn't really want, and stressing about mortgage prices climbing higher every year. I had more money, sure, but I had no freedom, no time, no peace. Here, with $1,800 a month, I have a nice place. I have time. I can go to a cafe in the morning and work for 3 hours if I want. I can take long walks through Chiang Mai's old city, wandering through temples and stopping to eat when I'm hungry. I can afford to take a songthao out to Doi Suthep, that's a mountain north of the city about 30 minutes away, and spend an afternoon hiking. I can say yes to dinner with friends without doing mental math about whether I can afford it. That's not a $500 a month life, but it's a genuinely better life than the one I was living in America, and it's absolutely achievable on what I'm spending. The shift in perspective helped me understand why Thailand attracts so many people. It's not really about the money. It's about the freedom that money buys you here. It's about being able to slow down. And that's the honest version of the story that doesn't get told in the YouTube videos because I moved to a cheaper place and now I have time to be happy doesn't get the algorithm going like living on $500 a month does. Okay, so that's one major exaggeration. But there's another one that's actually more damaging in my opinion, and it's the one that's been harder for me to talk about because it requires me to be honest about some pretty vulnerable stuff. The second biggest exaggeration about Thailand, the one I see repeated constantly in YouTube videos, is about relationships and dating. I need to be really honest about this because I moved to Thailand partly for this reason, and I want to spare you some of the heartbreak and confusion that comes with buying into the narrative. I was divorced. I was lonely. And when you're a 52-year-old American man watching videos about other American men in Thailand meeting beautiful women, having romance, building relationships, it hits different. There's this pervasive narrative that Thailand is this male fantasy land where the dating rules that apply in America don't apply, where you're suddenly more desirable, where women are more interested in genuine connection and less interested in the superficial metrics that American dating feels like it's built on. And look, there's a grain of truth in there. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that being a Western man doesn't come with some social currency in Thailand. It does. If you walk into a bar in the tourist areas of Chiang Mai or Bangkok, you will have attention. Women will want to talk to you. You'll feel wanted in a way that might be, frankly, unfamiliar if you're used to the American dating market. But the YouTube narrative around this is so incomplete, so thoroughly edited and curated, that it creates an image of Thailand that's almost unrecognizable when you're actually living it. Let me tell you what the videos don't show you. First, there's the really uncomfortable truth. A lot of the women you meet in these contexts are sex workers, or are working in the entertainment industry. I'm not saying that judgmentally. People do what they need to do to survive financially. But the YouTube narrative glosses over this. The videos show beautiful women at bars, in cafes, at clubs, and they imply romantic possibility. What they don't tell you is the economic reality. These women are there to work. If you're a Western man with money, you represent a potential financial transaction, not a romantic interest. I learned this the hard way. Within a month of arriving in Chiang Mai, I met a woman named Noi. She was beautiful, fun, seemed genuinely interested in me. We went out several times. I felt like I'd tapped into something that the YouTube narrative promised. Genuine connection with someone who wasn't interested in all the complicated American dating politics. We'd spend evenings talking. She'd talk about her family back in Isan, that's the northeastern part of Thailand, and her dreams of maybe opening a small business. And I, like an idiot, fell for it. By the second month, she was asking me for money. First, it was small. Her phone bill, a problem with her scooter. I didn't mind. I was doing okay financially, and if I could help, I would. But it escalated. She had a family emergency. Her mother was sick. She needed money to send home. She was crying, upset, and I gave it to her. The money was probably $300. That's not nothing, even on a Thailand budget. And then about a week later, one of my friends, another expat who'd been here longer, gently told me that he'd seen Noi at the local entertainment bar working. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He was trying to help me see what was happening. I was heartbroken. Not because Noi was a sex worker, that was her choice, her livelihood, and I have no judgment about it. I was heartbroken because I realized I'd been sold a story by YouTube that wasn't complete. After that, I got angry. Not at Thailand, but at the narrative. I started noticing how these YouTube videos would show a man with a woman clearly having a good time, and the implication would be romantic. But there would be no discussion of how they met, what her economic situation was, what the actual nature of the relationship was. It was all curated to look like a romantic paradise. Here's what I learned over time. If you want to actually date in Thailand, it's complicated. There are Thai women who are looking for genuine relationships with Western men, but they're not hanging out in tourist bars. They're not in the places where YouTube videos are filmed. They're living their regular lives. They're working office jobs. They're studying. They're in university. They're running businesses. They're in the spaces that Thai people actually inhabit. Meeting them, that requires language skills. That requires cultural understanding. That requires patience and genuine interest in Thai culture, not just Thailand as a backdrop for your personal story. About a year and a half into living here, I met Dao through a mutual friend. She worked in marketing, spoke good English, and had no interest in Western men as a category. She was interested in me as a person, and that distinction matters more than I can express. We went out for about 8 months, and it was genuinely good. We had real challenges, though. The cultural differences that don't show up in YouTube videos became very real. My family back home was important to me, and I wanted to eventually introduce her. She was willing, but she was also nervous. She'd never been to America. She'd never met a Western family. The idea that she might be judged, that I might want her to change aspects of herself to fit into my world, caused real tension. There was also the question at some point of what the future looked like. Did I want to stay in Thailand indefinitely? Did she want to move to America? These questions require actual conversation and compromise, not the kind of thing you see in a YouTube video about finding love in Thailand. Ultimately, we broke up, and we did so amicably. But it wasn't because Thailand love doesn't work. It was because real love requires real work, regardless of geography. I'm telling you this because I need to be honest about something. The dating and relationship narrative around Thailand is one of the most damaging exaggerations I see. It attracts men who are lonely, who've maybe had bad experiences with dating in America, who've lost their confidence. And it sells them a fantasy where they suddenly become desirable, wanted, and where romance is easy and available. And when those men arrive and reality doesn't match the narrative, they either end up hurt or they end up in relationships built on false foundations. The cultural differences are real. Thai culture is collectivist. American culture is individualist. What this means practically: if you're dating a Thai woman, her family's opinion matters to her in a way that might feel overwhelming if you're used to American independence. Her mother's thoughts on you, her siblings' questions about your intentions, her extended family's calculations about whether you're a good match. These things will affect the relationship. There's also the concept of sin sod. It's basically a bride price. If you're going to marry a Thai woman, her family will expect financial compensation. If you don't know about this going in, if you resent it, that's going to create conflict. If you understand it as part of the cultural context, it's something you can navigate. And then there's Krang Jai, a Thai concept that's a combination of respect, consideration, and a reluctance to impose. Thai people often won't directly tell you they're unhappy or that they disagree with you. If you're used to American directness, this can be really frustrating. You might think everything's fine because she's not telling you it's not. Learning to communicate across these differences takes time and intentionality. I'm now 7 years into living in Thailand, and I'm in another relationship. Her name is Lek. She's Thai, in her early 50s, divorced, a businesswoman who runs a restaurant supply company. We met through work. I do some freelance IT consulting, and she needed help with her business systems. It was professional at first. We became friends. It eventually became romantic. Our relationship is different from my relationship with Dao. Lek is older, more established, and has her own financial independence. That changes the dynamic completely. There's no power imbalance based on money. We're two people who are compatible and who've chosen to build something together. But even this relationship requires constant navigation of cultural difference. She finds American directness sometimes rude. I find Thai indirectness sometimes confusing. We have to talk about it. She makes decisions based on input from her extended family. I'm used to making decisions more independently. We've had to find a middle ground. She's more spiritual than I am. I'm more skeptical. We respect each other's perspective without needing to convince the other. Is it harder than dating someone from your own culture? Yeah, probably. Is it worse? Not necessarily, it's just different. And here's what I'll tell you. The YouTube narrative about dating in Thailand wants to make it seem effortless. The actual truth is that the work of being in a relationship, the actual hard work of loving another person, is the same here as it is anywhere. What I'd tell anyone considering a move to Thailand: don't come for the cheap food or the easy relationships or the fantasy of a new life. Come if you want a genuine change. Come if you're willing to learn. Come if you're curious about a place and a culture that's actually quite different from what you know. Come with realistic expectations about what that will cost and what it will demand of you. Thailand isn't perfect. The humidity in April and May is absolutely brutal. The air quality during burning season makes you question your life choices. Thai bureaucracy is a special kind of nightmare that will test your patience. But there's also a pace to life here that's sustainable. There's an investment in relationship and community that's valuable. There's the possibility of building a life that's aligned with your values, instead of just grinding through the American version and hoping you'll retire before you're too old to enjoy it. Thailand has given me peace, not because life is cheaper, not because relationships are easier, but because I stepped out of a system that was grinding me down, and I took the time to think about what actually matters to me. Has it given me the fantasy that the YouTube videos sell? No. Has it given me something better, something real, something harder and more interesting and more worthwhile? Absolutely. And that's what I wanted you to know.